Welcome back to the TWTL podcast. I'm Chris Ferris, and we are bringing our initial coverage for Because of the Times 2020. The theme is one, and the focus is on unity. Whether we're talking about the larger organization of believers, each church body, our communities, families, or even in our individual walk with God, Christ desires for us to be unified together. While not tied to the theme, each speaker will most likely bring their own vision of what unity should look like in 2020 and beyond. So who are these speakers and where do they speak? We'll get to that in just a second, but first let me tell you that what we do here at TWTL Podcast is we do not provide video or audio of the sessions or sermons. You won't get any of that here. If you want, they have a viewing package at the Pentecostals.church. It's for $90, and I'm not sure all of what that entails. You can go on the website. They have a link that provides it to you. It's the first time I believe they've provided this, but for $90 you can get certain access to Because of the Times this year. So check that out. But what we're going to provide is simply recaps of the sermons and our own perspective and our own takeaways from the sermon and the sessions. So I just want to be clear on that. We do this to honor Because of the Times and honor Pastor Anthony Mangan. We're not going to bootleg anything on this podcast. If you want that, they do look like they are providing that at the Pentecostals.church. If they don't provide all of it, you can definitely purchase sermons. You can purchase sessions. At the end of the conference, they'll be providing from varying types of multimedia. You can get those things. So I would direct you, if you want stuff that's actual sessions, actual music, actual things from the conference, go to the Pentecostals.church. That's THEPENTECOSTALS.CHURCH. That's my disclaimer. Now let's get to the speakers. On Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, we will first hear from UPCI District Superintendent David Bernard. He's going to offer a recap of where the church body has been the most recent year and where he hopes we will go the next year. This is usually a very uplifting sermon because he focuses on the successes of the church, the trials that we faced, and how we've overcome them, and what opportunities are lying ahead. I always feel encouraged by what he speaks. I always feel like once he gets done speaking, I feel energized and ready to get going for the year. It's usually a fairly short message. It's to the point. He'll focus on what he feels needs to be the focus for the church body, what he's felt from God, not just what he feels, but what he's felt from God should be the focus of the church body. And he's going to convey it in a way that just inspires. So I'm excited to hear from him. Following Reverend Bernard is going to be Pastor Anthony Mangan. He'll be giving the keynote sermon for the conference, which means he'll be the sermon that mostly focuses on the theme of the conference. The idea of unity and being one with God and each other will be at the core of his message. However, as a member of the POA, I also believe his focus will be on prayer. This is because that's been one of his main focuses early on this year. It's because prayer is what is going to tie us together. It's what's going to connect us to God and what we can use to draw nearer as a body. We're not going to be able to accomplish a unified purpose without prayer. Prayer is powerful, prayer is meaningful, and prayer is important. And so I expect him to have that. I also expect he always has a great illustration connected to his message. He's obviously very charismatic. He's very energized. He's very inspiring, and what he says resonates. And he knows that, and that's why he puts so much prayer and time and fasting into this sermon, because he knows that this sermon is going to have an impact on the church as a whole moving forward. So I'm excited to hear from him tonight. As far as Tuesday night's recaps, we're going to start recording as soon as we leave the conference, giving our insights and our takeaways, and we'll try and get it up on the podcast tonight. If not, it'll be up tomorrow morning. So look for that, and we will send an email out to go along with it. Wednesday at 9:30 a.m., we'll kick off with a forum. This forum is entitled The Mind and the Minister. It'll be moderated by Reverend Tim Gaddy, and participating will be Pastor Gentry Mangan and Sister Theodis Tinney and Tess Stewart. This is a great group of varying ages and experiences, and it'll be interesting to see what they bring on this topic of getting your mind focused on God so that you can be the best minister that you can be. I expect a lot of practical ideas being presented because Sister Tinney, I've had her speak in our Sunday school class at the POA before, and she has so many great practical thoughts, but with that spirituality wrapped up in it. It's not just practical for the sake of practical. It's practical for the sake of your spiritual walk. I've known Pastor Gentry Mangan since I was a kid, and he's a great thinker, a great speaker. He'll obviously have his own perspective on where his ministry has gone and what it entails of having God wrapped up inside of who you are and your mindset. And Tess Stewart's a great speaker as well. And Tim Gaddy, I've watched him moderate forums before, seen him speak before. I think he's going to be really good at this because he is kind of a conversationalist. He will keep the conversation flowing. He'll ask engaging questions that will allow the speaker to be able to open up as much as possible. So I'm excited to hear from that. Following the forum, Sister Vesta Mangan will speak. Sister Vesta, her sermons are often on the need to reach for souls and prayer, so look for that call back to what Pastor has spoken on Tuesday night to be reverberated in her sermon on Wednesday morning. It's always uplifting, always challenging, always convicting, and often it's the most popular sermon at every Because of the Times. She is going to push us in a way that is uncomfortable at first, but then as you get closer and closer to the finish of her sermon, that uncomfortableness will be replaced by a sense of belief in yourself that I can do this. It might not be easy. It's not supposed to be easy, but I know that if I trust God and if I do what this woman who is a servant and who has heard from God, what she is saying, I'm going to be successful in this challenge. So I'm excited to hear from her. After Sister Vesta Mangan, we'll hear from Reverend Raymond Woodward from Canada. He'll be speaking probably from a very deep and theological perspective because that's just who he is. His sermons are kind of mind-blowing, but he makes sure not to just leave you out there like with your mind just floating off in space. He tries to reel you back in and help you get grounded and founded in what he's speaking. So I really like that about him. He's not just speaking profoundly for the sake of being profoundly. He's trying to get you diving deeper into a concept that you probably haven't thought of before. And his sermon, though, is one that once you're done with it, you're going to want to go back and open up your Bible and start researching, not to challenge him, but to try and take this concept and start applying it to your life more readily, and then also examining your life. This Wednesday lineup is going to be amazing. If you're trying to find your own foundation in God or shore up your foundation in God, this is going to be the recap you want to listen to. Wednesday night, Reverend Mike Williams, if you haven't got your mind blown yet, you will with him because he always brings a deep thinking message to the platform. It's usually going to be a perspective or a word or a phrase that you've never considered in the way he's going to present it. And it's as soon as he starts talking about it, you're going to be like, oh, how did I not get that? It's one of those kind of things. It's not mind-blowing that, oh, I never thought about that. It's like, oh, I should have thought about that. That's amazing. And you're not feeling lost about it or anything like that. You're inspired because it's something that you can relate to. It's something that you can get a hold of, and it's something that you can take with you and start immediately applying to your life. That's what I love about Reverend Mike Williams, and I'm excited to hear whatever he has to bring. After him, it'll be Reverend Anthony Cox. He hails from Harvey, Illinois. What I know about him is he has a church that's a multicultural church, and it's consistently growing in both membership and in discipleship. I don't know what he's going to speak about, but I'm excited to hear from him from that perspective of having a multicultural church and a church that is growing. I mean, every church should be growing. Every church should be seeking multiculturalism, but having this person who has this perspective and is in the middle of it and in the midst of it should inspire us. Whether you're a minister or whether you're just a saint of God, you can make your push for your entire community, and not just for the sake of getting them in the door, but grafting them into the kingdom. After that, we'll have recaps on Wednesday night. Once again, we'll try and get it out that night. If we can't, we'll have it out the next morning. The Wednesday afternoon recap will come sometime that afternoon before Wednesday night, so you can look for that. On Thursday morning, once again at 9:30 a.m., we'll have another forum. This one's going to be called Made Whole. It involves Reverend Mike Williams as a moderator. I've seen him moderate several times before. He always interjects with some really interesting thoughts that show you that he's actively listening and actively trying to embrace what's being provided, and that helps you kind of put yourself in the role of the moderator as well by hearing what he's saying. He's going to be moderating a panel that includes Sister Cheryl Beckton, Reverend J.H. Osborne, Reverend Sean Stickler, and Sister Deborah Williams. The focus on Made Whole, it could be any kind of perspective on it. It could be for your own self. It could be for those that are close to you, the community around you, the church body. But I'm excited to hear what they bring to the table on that. I've heard some of these people speak before. I don't know all that much about some of the others. I don't really know Sister Deborah Williams that well. I haven't ever heard her speak. Also Sister Cheryl Beckton or Reverend Sean Stickler. Really only Reverend Mike Williams and Reverend J.H. Osborne are the only ones that I can recall hearing, and I know he's funny, and he'll keep it as lighthearted as possible, but he can go from funny to serious in a moment. So it'll be excited to hear from him again, and to hear some new perspectives and some new voices. Following the forum, we'll hear from Reverend Paul Paymer. He is the pastor of Apostolic Church in Barberton, Ohio. He's a younger minister, so I expect to hear a pretty fresh perspective being brought to the conference this year, and how to navigate as a young minister trying to pursue Christ in this modern age. I mean, I don't know what he'll bring, but I hope that's one of the things that I'm hoping for, that I find in his message. It's one of the things I'm looking for, is a greater perspective on that. After Reverend Paymer, we'll hear from Reverend Robert Tisdale. He's a former evangelist and now pastors in Tampa, Florida. He has these very deep perspectives, but he also has this amazing gift of faith that is almost innate to the evangelist ministry. I'm not saying that pastors and saints and other people in the church can't have the gift of faith, but evangelists operate with a gift of faith that is very unique. And so having the deep perspectives that he has and the gift of faith that he has, it's going to be a very interesting thing that happens in that church. I think if there's going to be a point where the church service explodes, it's going to be right here. I'm going to be excited to witness as people, as he starts speaking, they just start growing. In just this small window of time, you see people, and I've felt it at our church before, just from the beginning of his message to the end of his message, you can just feel yourself growing in Christ. And you can feel yourself growing in your calling, and you're ready to go do something as soon as it is. That's the thing that I think the sermons and these forums and all these sessions this year, you're going to be, as soon as each one of these messages are over, you're going to be like, I'm ready to go out there and do something. So I'm excited about that. Thursday night, we'll hear from Reverend John Russell of Calvary Tabernacle in Alexandria, Louisiana. He's a product of the POA and the Grace House. That's the first recovery ministry ever launched from our church, which we have several now. He is a product of grace and prayer and is now expressing that to the community at large. He is full of passion. He's full of fire. He is an exciting minister to hear. He will definitely have a unique perspective when he comes to the pulpit. And if you're looking for something that, wherever you're at in your walk with God, this is a man who went from nothing to realizing his purpose and calling in Christ. And you're never too far gone. You're never too low to pick yourself up and move forward in God and do everything that God has for you. Don't count yourself out. That's something that I hope is expressed in his message, but that I know about him. The final minister for Because of the Times will be Reverend Jack Cunningham, and if you're looking for inspiration, this is a man who brings it because he's lived it. He's seen mighty acts. He's seen God move in ways that a lot of people have never seen. He's all around the world. He has seen the hand of God move, and he's going to bring those stories. He's going to bring that perspective here, and if you believe that God is dormant, you're not going to believe that when he's done. You're going to believe that the church is on fire. You're going to believe that God is still moving, and you're believe that we're in the midst of a mighty revival, end times revival, like we've never seen before, because he's going to bring the report. He's going to bring the testimony of what the church is and what the church can be. And I'm excited to hear from him, and that's the perfect exclamation point to what is going to be an amazing conference. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to all of these speakers. I'm looking forward to the entire experience. There's going to be great music. There's going to be great praise and worship. There's going to be great prayer. There's going to be great moves of God. There's just going to be amazing things happen inside of this sanctuary. And I'm excited because I get to bring you my perspective on it. Once again, if you want to view Because of the Times, they do have that package on the Pentecostals.church. We've already mentioned it before. Go to the Pentecostals.church and look it up, see what you're going to be provided. And even if you don't get that, you can purchase any of the sermons, any of the sessions. They provide them through multiple types of multimedia once the conference is over. So I'm excited for what I'm able to provide to y'all. I know that God's going to be doing some great things. We're going to provide you with regular podcasts throughout this week. We're going to provide you with links to those podcasts in our newsletter. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, go to twtlministries.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. It's free. Everything that we're providing this week is free. We're not making anything off of this. We're not trying to make anything off of this as far as money goes. But just check us out, and we hope that we can inspire you and that you're blessed by what we provide this week. So until tonight, I'm Chris Ferris. This is TWTL Podcast. God bless. Keep searching.